All right, so welcome to the Friday edition. As I mentioned yesterday, uh, my book is out, No Shortcuts, and I thought, it's obviously it's been a couple of years working on this, based on almost a decade now of working in the psychedelic mental health space. And one of the one of the premise that I put forth in the book is this idea that there are certain behaviors. In this case, I've identified 10 of them that I think of as being non-negotiable, meaning we all need to be reasonably good enough at those 10 behaviors in order to really thrive. And if there's, any one or two or more where we're really struggling, that's the stuff to really focus on, right? But it's to try to create a little bit of a framework for how to think of these things. And so just you know a big part of this is this truth, which is we are what we repeatedly do. And let's see if I can give just some like a really obvious example of that. So let's say a behavior like smoking cigarettes, right? So if I smoke a cigarette once every 3 to 6 months for whatever reason because I enjoy it, does that mean that I'm a smoker? Like, have I become a smoker? I'd say probably not, right? It's because there's not enough repetition in that behavior to really have it transfer into, oh, Ollie, you now are a smoker, right? And I guess the question is, so let's say I smoke a cigarette once a week. Am I a smoker? Well, it gets easier when you say, well, what if you're smoking a cigarette, every day or several cigarettes every day? At some point, we sort of cross this magical threshold where what you do begins to define who you are, right? You go from someone who occasionally does this behavior to actually becoming a smoker. And I think the same holds true for all behaviors. The good news is it also holds true for what I would call the positive or the desirable behaviors, right? If I practice expressing gratitude to friends and loved ones once a month, does that make me a grateful person? I don't know. Maybe we're sort of on the way there. If I do it every day, maybe if I do it even twice a day and really make it a part of how I behave, at some point, I think you cross the threshold to becoming a grateful person, right? So the things that we do kind of define who we are. And so one of the questions I love asking my patients in the context of mental health, and certainly also those of us that grapple with addictive behaviors, is this one here. So whatever it is that you're doing, can you imagine yourself thriving if you continue to do this behavior? So again, going back to cigarettes, we all know enough about cigarettes and the harm from smoking cigarettes and so on. So I can ask myself and say, okay, I smoke cigarettes on the regular. Can I imagine myself in 6 to 9 months from now, if I'm still doing this behavior, does that jive with my understanding of what it would mean for me to be thriving? And then I'll leave the answer is open, right? It's a very personal question. Like, for some people, it's like, yeah, absolutely, no problem. And for others, it's a pretty clear, like, no, that's just not congruent with my definition of thriving. The cool thing is we can also do this on, again, these positive behaviors, right? So, if I practice mindfulness, can I imagine myself thriving if I continue to practice, 10 minutes of mindfulness a day? Can I imagine myself 6 months down the road going like, yeah, that's really aligned with my definition of thriving. That fits, right? So the idea, in the book, is to try to sort of get square with those things in our life. And like I said, I think it's a really personal, like, there's no objective truth that I'm trying to impose on anyone, but it's really, I think, the power of just asking that question of ourselves and gaining some clarity on, like, yeah, when I do this thing that I do on the regular, how does that fit into my vision of who I want to be and how I want to imagine myself thriving down the road. So that's the theme for today. So let's check it out. So close your eyes, everyone except Anne. Let's take a moment to settle in, setting the intention to open our heart, open our mind, get curious. We're just going to do this just for a few short minutes. So it's just making some space to open up, to settle. Noticing breath coming and going. Noticing sensations in your hands, your belly, your throat, your eyes. There's no sort of intended or desirable state to be in other than just simply noticing, oh, this is what it's like to be inside my body in this moment. Just allowing, making space. And then shifting into this inquiry, this curiosity. See if you can identify a behavior, something that you've struggled with, maybe where your mind says, oh, I shouldn't be doing that. I know better, and it can really vary. It can, be something like I mentioned earlier, either your relationship to alcohol, cigarettes, fast food, but it can also be something like maybe your reluctance to call friends and make plans to get together. Right. So whatever that is for you, don't overthink it. See if you can identify a thing that you do and then make some space for it and see if you can notice the impact that behavior has on you. Maybe there's a little compulsiveness associated with it. If there's any kind of shame or regret or remorse after you do the behavior, that oftentimes is a good one to just to get clear. So yeah, this is something that I do pretty regularly. And now imagine yourself 6 months down the road, or 9 months, sometime between now and the end of the year, let's say in December, and kind of looking over your shoulder going, can I imagine myself really thriving and being really well and the kind of person that I strive to be if I continue this behavior between now and December? And approach it, if you can, with a real sort of curiosity, a genuine, authentic curiosity. Suspend judgment. There's no good or bad here. It's not intended to evoke any shame. It's a real, just open-hearted inquiry into, yeah, what's the kind of person I'll be if I keep doing this? The first step is just to allow whatever comes up. Maybe it's edgy, maybe it's really equanimous and open. Whatever you find, just notice it. There's no judgment there. It's just, oh, this is the trajectory that I'm on if I keep doing this. Well, now think of something that you do on the regular that really feels good for you, feels wholesome. Maybe it is regularly checking in on your neighbors or your friends, or really intentionally buying and preparing whole foods. And, now imagine yourself, if I keep doing this and I do it consistently, how does that fit into my vision or definition of thriving come December? And I suspect in both cases, there is a deeper part of you that knows the answer to the question there. In my experience, we usually have a pretty strong intuitive sense of like, yes, this is the right path, or gee, no, this is going to be trouble. And I think any kind of behavior change starts with this kind of clarity. Like we need to know in our bones whether or not this thing that we do, whether or not it makes sense for us. And then we can make our personal choices from there. So today is just an invitation to notice, to open up to it. And take a deep breath in through the nose. Long exhale through the mouth. Just breathing into the space around you, relaxing your shoulders. And hold the out breath for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In. Long, slow out breath. Relaxing the throat, the shoulders, the hands. And hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Keep your eyes closed. Let the body breathe. And see if you can sense any kind of afterglow from just posing these 2 questions and feeling into them. See if there's anything of value there for you to take away. Open your eyes, come on back. Yeah, hope that's a useful one. I try to catch myself frequently, and I actually sort of practice asking myself that question. And admittedly, sometimes, it doesn't have the impact that I want, but oftentimes it just raises it in my awareness and helps guide me in terms of my moment-to-moment decisions. So hope that was the case for you guys. Appreciate you all, and have an awesome weekend, and see you on Monday.